Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. Today I want to talk about the meditative life or the contemplative life. I hope to give you a little sense of what it might be. And this is also to introduce my meditation, which helps you to find this meditative life or contemplative life. First, I want to say that some people have the idea that meditative life or contemplative life means that you have to go to the side of a mountain somewhere or hide in a monastery or something like that, but that's not the case at all. You can have a very nice contemplative life, meditative life, out in, going about your daily affairs as a husband, as a wife, as a student, as a neighbor, doing your work, being with your family, having recreation, everything, okay? But what you carry with you is a little bit of mental distance, where you're not so caught up with things. See, when you get caught up in anything, you lose yourself. If you get caught up in a movie, you lose yourself. If you get caught up in music, if you get caught up in emotion, you get all excited or all angry about something, you kind of forget who you are, and you become a creature of that moment, a creature of that occasion, and you become subject to whatever is happening in that moment. You become subject to it. See? So you have to always have that little ability to stand back from things. And the other thing we get caught up with is our thinking. If you get caught up in your thinking, you can drive, like I've said many times, I keep using this example because it's something that everyone can relate to. If you get lost in daydreaming, thinking about what happened or what you're going to do, you can drive right past the exit you were going to take on the freeway because you're lost in your fantasy world, see? Or if you're lost in worry, or if you're lost in thinking about what happened at the office, or thinking about what you're going to do that evening, you're not totally in the moment. So the idea is to be more in the moment. Okay, that's the idea. And at the same time, there's another aspect of it. Now, how do you do that? How do you detach from, to be a little bit detached? See? Enough detached that your soul is actually outside of time. I'm sure you've heard people say something like when they were faced with some sudden happening, big happening, that it was like everything went into slow motion, or as if they were not even in their body, as if they were watching. See, the soul is actually, that's a protection. You see, that's a protection. But outside of time, if your soul is a little bit outside of time, and some event comes along that's not safe for you, then somehow you will be perceived ahead of time, and you will make the move, or you remain quiet, or you will do that little something, whatever it is, by which you will be safe. See? Now, I don't know how to say it any better than that. So how do you? So what is the other thing? See, to be detached from the world, you have to be attached to something else. See, that's what a lot of people. See, mindfulness meditations and those sorts of things. Well, they have the right idea. They do. And if you keep reminding yourself to be in the moment, well, that's good. See, that's better than being lost in fantasy or delusions or totally caught up in emotions and not knowing what you're doing. So it's nice to remind yourself, but there's something even better, something much better, 1,000,000 times better. And that is you detach from the world and you attach to something else. See? Now what else do you what do you attach to? See? You attach to the inner light from God. See, you attach to what you know in your heart is right. You attach to whatever comes to you from God. And when you are, so you find a different space. You find a space where you're closer to God and His light. See, I've said this again 1,000 times, but I keep saying it so that, you might suddenly get it. God gives animals instinct. He gives humans intuition. He gives humans the ability to perceive. See, animals can see. A duck can see with its eyes. The human being sees with its eyes but can also perceive. See, the animal can hear words. The human can also understand words. See what I mean? So that's what you need to be in that space where you're standing back. But not just standing back, but attached to the good spirit from God. Okay? Now the way that happens, is, see, it doesn't just happen. There has to be something that prepares you, that you are prepared for it. And God has to make it happen. Okay? So if you would like something like that, then all you can do is yearn with all of your heart for it to happen, for God to enter your life, for Him to give you light. Let that be your prayer, your silent prayer, that God gives you light. But what has to happen? What has to happen is you have to have a change of heart. See, as long as you're egocentric, as long as you want to be prideful, in other words, as long as you want something from the world, see, you feel, see, you've been teased your whole life. Since you were a little babe, people were teasing you, challenging you, pressuring you, see, to ginger up your ego, your pride. Or they made you angry. Your mom, you had something in your hand and your mom ripped it out. Then you started yelling, crying, and she kept it from you. Something like that. Just something like that. Or she forced food in your mouth. Or your brother, she pushed you down and then said he didn't do it. Or your sister was good at making cruel remarks to you when you got older. And she was just too clever. You didn't know how to respond. Your older sister maybe, or see what I mean? Or there were bullies. And then there were teachers that pressured you, challenged you to become better, to become more, to study, to achieve, to win for the team, for the school. See, there's no end to it. Drug pressure, sex pressure, ambition pressure, peer pressure, performance pressure, academic pressure, sports pressure. See? So you began to succumb in two ways. One, you became resentful, angry and resentful. See? And when you become angry and resentful, you know what? You lose something. You have a sense of loss. There's a sense of loss because you really have lost something. What you lost was an intimate relationship with your inner ground of good. See? Where you were close to God. That's what you lost. And also your true self. The pattern for your the pattern for your life that would come from there, from God, from silently from within. You lost touch with that through your anger. See, but you couldn't help yourself. See, you were just a little child and people pressured you. Your parents were supposed to protect you from excessive tease and pressure. See, that doesn't mean overprotect. That means protect you until you were ready for to handle it when you were older. See, but most parents themselves have been subject to pressure, and all they do is they know how to turn around and pressure their kids. So they yell at them and scream at them and make them have timeouts and all that kind of pressure. See what I mean? Try to force them to be good, and that's a pressure. And they don't set a good example. See, a good example of being calm and being in the world, but not of the world, as Christ said, to be in the world, but not of the world. So now you see you have to attach to the inner. But like I was saying, because you've been teased, you had a sense of loss. But you didn't know how. See, there was no one there to teach you, as I am now teaching you. There was no one there with a meditation like I have, see, to help you, or to talk about this. That's what your Father should have done. He should have been there to teach you and tutor you in such things. He may have done a little bit of it, but not enough, you see. He himself was a victim of the pressures. Okay. But anyway, like I was saying, so you felt a sense of loss. But instead of looking within, where you're true, you could have gotten back what you had lost. Instead, you look to the world. So it's like being tripped up like in judo, being tripped up by another judo person, and then when you're tripped up, you reach and try to grab a hold of the judo person who tripped you, and then when you grab toward him, then he throws you down even more. See? So you reached out to the world to try to get what you lost. So you looked for love in the world. See? And all you found was use and abuse. You look for success, for respect, for prestige, and compensation. Money, degrees, power, popularity. So you look for these compensations in the world. But they were empty and hollow. They never could satisfy. See? And the more you looked for them, see, then they became teases themselves. See, you transferred the tease transferred from your resentment of whoever initially teased you and taunted you and challenged you. Then the objects of the world began to represent that tease. So every time you saw something out there challenging you, you couldn't help but resist the challenge. See? And so for a while you seemed to be improving and growing because you were meeting challenges, but eventually you feel a sense of futility. I mean, you become burned out. See, plus you're not living your own life. It's the life of the world. So you became subject to the world. Then you had to play the part that the world had for you, whatever that was. See? And you may have sensed that, and then you rebelled against that. Some people drop out, and then they take drugs and something they can't bear. They can't stand. They're so full of hate, and they can't stand to see themselves the way they are, full of hate. So they try to drown their sorrows in and their awareness in alcohol or drugs or something. See. You see how that happens? But the more you pine for so as long as you want something from the world, as long as you think, if you just had a lottery win, or you just met the right person, or you just, I don't know, got another degree, or got a promotion, or a better job, or you found someone that could relieve you of whatever your symptoms are now, from your angry lifestyle, your pressured life, your ambitious life. So you may not have been ambitious by nature, you know, in the bad sense of the word ambitious, but they teased you and taunted you into being ambitious. So a lot of kids rebel. You hear that a lot. They rebel. Preachers' kids, you hear about that. They rebel. See, it could be anybody's kids. They rebel against the pressure to be good and to perform and everything. So they rebel, and they rebel against the hypocrisy that they see and the falseness. So they rebel. But then you know what? They do it resentfully. They don't rebel creatively. They rebel resentfully, angrily. So they become very, very guilty. See, in the light of conscience, they're very guilty for their resentments and their angers and their hostility. And then you know what eventually they do? Instead of turning within and being sorry within before conscience, admitting you resented your dad and resented your mom and those people who teased you, you resented them, admitted that, okay? Then you could move forward with your head held high. But instead what most people do, the mistake, is that they go crawling back. They go crawling back to the very ones who had pressured them, who had destroyed them, who had robbed them of their life. They go back to them on their hands and knees crawling and saying, I'm sorry, and then they conform. They rebel and conform. So you don't have, unless you find this other attachment that I was talking about, where you detach from the world and find this other attachment, the only choices you have are to conform or rebel. And usually out of the rebellion always contains the seeds of conformity, because you become so guilty for your rebellion that you eventually go back and conform. See? Well, that's not the answer either. So what is the answer then? The answer is you have to have a change of heart. You have to see that there's nothing in the world. It's all compensation and pressure. There's very little love there. And even if you got what you wanted, you still wouldn't be happy. It wouldn't be fulfilling. And then when you weren't fulfilled, then you would resent it. You would resent the very things, some of you have experienced this, that you thought were so important. See, you worked your fingers to the bone and spent years and years in school to get a degree, and then after you get the degree, is that all there is? See? And then you did so much for it, and spent so much for it, and wasted so much of your life for it, that now you're determined to make good, see, what was promised. But that opens you up then to be subject to people who you will take advantage of your desire to make good. You see what I mean? So what you need is a change of heart. You have to see that your resentments, your whole life is built on resentment. Resenting those who failed you, your father who failed you, and others who pressured you. See, and repent and be sorry. See that truth. See that you haven't been living your own life. See that you've been conforming. See, bootlicking and conforming for the crumbs of the world. See, either that, which they may give you or may not give you. See, they know how to keep you in tow. So some people they'll give it to because that inspires the ones they give the crumbs to strive even harder. Others they withhold the crumbs of approval and reward because they know that'll keep them striving harder. See. So you have to see that that's what you've done. You've conformed and rebelled, and along the way you've resented a lot of people, and then you failed to set a good example for others. See, you could have set a good example for your little brother or sister, for your partner, see, for others. But instead, you were so busy selfishly trying to get back what you thought you had lost in the world and prove something. Prove something. See, that you didn't set a good example. So you have to begin to see those. And when you see those, don't resent it. Don't resent seeing it. Instead, just be sorry within. And realize that the reason you can see it is because the light is there showing you. Now this is very important. The reason you can see your own error and be sorry about what you see. Regret what you see. See, you can't change yourself. That's something else to see. You can't change yourself. All you can do is regret what you see about yourself and cry out to God. See, and then He answers. And the first thing He gives you is light and a little bit of distance. See, when you see your own error in the light, you are actually standing back and observing it in the light. See, you're no longer a part of it. You're observing it. See? That's the secret of the proper meditation. When you have thoughts, who knows where those thoughts came from? There they are. They're not even your own thoughts. There they are. Your thoughts tease you. The world teased you, right? Challenged you, motivated you, praised you when you did good, and condemned you and egged you on to do more and more and more when you didn't do so good, see, in its opinion. Well, now your thoughts are doing the same thing to you. See, or they're telling you you're no good, you're just a failure, there's no hope, God doesn't exist, God doesn't care. See, whatever they'll try anything. See, temptation will try anything that will work. It'll just try everything and see what works, what sticks. And if you resent it, then it's got you. But if you can stand back from those thoughts and you see them, now you see that you really don't like those thoughts. They're not really your thoughts. There they are, so you just stand back. But when you're standing back, observing them, you're no longer a part of them. See? So you learn the meditation, that little technique of standing back. Okay, so there you are. You see that you're resentful. Now you see it. You see the resentment. Okay? But now in the light you see that the resentment is wrong. And so you have a change of heart about your resentment. You don't want to be resentful anymore. You see the resentment in you, but you don't want to be. Well, now what that means is that your soul is standing back in the light, and you're agreeing with what the light is showing you. The light is saying that the resentment is wrong, and that you're wrong for being resentful. And you see that, and you agree with it. So now you are attaching yourself to that. Now you develop a rapport with that light that shows you. The light that shows you your own error. And soon you don't mind seeing your errors anymore. It's a relief to come clean. It's a relief to come clean. See? That's the secret. So now you see how if you have that little bit of distance where you're standing back, Okay? Then you're your own person. Your own person. Okay? You go out in the world and here comes a tease. See? Someone teases you. You observe. You stand back. You mentally stand back and you observe. But you don't react. See, in the past you always would have gotten angry, or you would have become resentful, or got your hurt feelings, or who knows what. Or you would have said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing. Now you just stand back and observe. From the neutral zone. See? And your soul is safe. You don't have to respond. You don't have to say anything. Just stand back and observe, and the moment passes and you're safe. Now you have power. There's power in simply observing. And the other person will see it too. All of a sudden they see. They were so used to getting your goat, so used to you being a puppet, a wind-up. You see, a puppet, strings of a puppet, they could manipulate you. You manipulate your ego by praising you, by reassuring you, by comforting you, by teasing you, by saying something to you, whatever. Now you stand back and you observe. And in the light, you see what they're up to. You don't resent them. In the past, you would have resented it and resented them, but now you just observe. And they see you observing them, and all of a sudden they realize that you're no longer theirs. You're your own person. See? Then usually they'll just leave you alone. They'll go find someone else to bother. That's just a little example. There's so many examples I could give, and I do. I have a new series of lectures called Starting Over. Starting Over. They're at with my Shedding Shackles videos on YouTube. I really encourage you to watch them. They're very good. It's like, I think I have like 12 or 15 of them. They're all like 9 or 10 minutes long. They're very, very good. But anyway, this is good. This video, if you see it, take it to heart. Watch it again until the penny drops, till you get it. See? See, you detach from you no longer yearn for the world, or you may still pine for the world. You see a good-looking guy, you think, boy, I wish, or you see a nice-looking lady, and you think, well, I sure would. See, or you see a great big piece of pie, and you think, oh man, I'd like to eat. See, or you see anything like it. You see people that seem to be doing so well. They're so popular, and they got so much money and everything, and you see them, and you still see some of that pining in you, that yearning for the world. You still see that. But now something also tells you wordlessly. You kind of know, no, that's not going to be the answer. See, if I had something nice, that would be nice. See, it doesn't mean you can't have something nice in the future, that you can't have money or a nice car, or it doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you have a different attitude toward it now. Now you don't make it too important anymore. Now you see what is important. See, and in the light that shows you what's important, you observe all these things. Then one day you wake up and then you're not pining for that car anymore. You think, well, it would be nice to have a car. Maybe someday I will, but if I don't, okay. And now it's not important anymore. See, then probably one day you will be able to have a car because you'll be able to use it properly and you won't spend too much money for it because now you'll have your common sense in the light. So there's just so much I could tell you. But the best thing I can say is this has been a very good video. I had some books I had here. I had Experiencing the Depths of Jesus Christ, which is a translation of Madame Guyon's Short and Easy Method of Prayer. Very spiritual lady. And then I also had a Guide to True Peace, where I had the same passage from her book that I was going to read you also to see a little different angle on it. But you know what? What I just told you came from the heart. It came from that dimension, that light of which I speak, and that light which is in me, from which I am now speaking, that light is also in you. Okay? You just need to become a friend of it. Okay? Find it. Get the meditation, learn to become still, sit still in the room. Okay? And stand back from your thoughts instead of escaping into the thoughts. And then you'll be in the light. See? And then in the light, everything will change for the better. See? The birds will sing and the sky will be blue. And then you'll have hope. Not a hope you give yourself, but a hope that comes by knowing that God is there and His light is there. It's very comforting. It's very comforting to the soul to know that. Okay? So, thanks for enjoying this video. And try the little meditation. I have a new address for the meditation. I call it, it's thefreemeditation.com. Thefreemeditation.com. How do you like that? It's easy to remember. Give it a try. It's free, incidentally. It's free. My name is Roland.